Well, here we go. So it's known that the young king Edward V was suffering from an illness, which is where you were headed just a minute ago, Devin. I don't know what that illness is. I couldn't find detail of what it is, so it's quite possible that he died either from his illness or from whatever treatment he was getting for that illness.
Yeah, their treatments were pretty bad.
Yeah, back in those days, I was like, let's put some slugs on them. Or some
have some slugs and some
draw
lead,
some blood,
and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's drill a hole in their head, yeah.
So we don't know if that's, that could be how he died.
Yeah, and those diseases especially are fairly communicable. So if he had like the plague, for instance, he probably didn't because everyone would have the plague.
Yeah, no.
But if he had, the plague, his little brother definitely would have gotten it from him, right? And they would have just both died.
Yeah, but we know that he was ill, so that leaves us with his brother, Richard, the Duke of York.
Yeah.
Now, I know all of our listeners are screaming, but Steve, what about the theories where he survives? There aren't any. I haven't come across any solid theories that say that the young king could have possibly survived and escaped the Tower of London.
Now you still are talking Edward V, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Boy King. Yeah.
Well, if obviously Boy King, if you're listening to us, call us in. Call
500 years later.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there are theories that young Richard escaped on his own or with help. We don't know, and that he fled the country. This was something that actually plagued Henry VII, because in 1487, a man by the name of Lambert Simnel claimed to be Richard. Came forward and was claiming to be the young boy, the now would be the legitimate boy king.
Yeah.
He then eventually changed his story to say that no, he wasn't the young king. He was just another royal named Edward Plantagenet. Plantagenet.
Yeah.
Edward Plantagenet.
So what back in those days was the penalty for impersonating royalty?
It was usually pretty bad.
Yeah, I was thinking hung, drawn, and quartered.
Usually death, but he was very, very young when this happened, when he made these claims.
Was he of appropriate age?
He was very close to it, yes.
Okay.
So it was possible that it could have been him. Well, Henry, they obviously arrested him. Henry, it sounds like took pity on him and pardoned him, because he was pardoned, and he was allowed to work in the royal kitchens until he died 40 or 50 years later. So he worked for the royal family for the rest of his life.
Well, that was very nice of Henry.
Unusual, but yes.
Yeah, for a guy like Henry, that seems really kind.
Yes.
I'm not sure if I was Henry if I'd want to have that guy preparing my food.
Yeah.
Who knows exactly what the circumstances were, but not too long after that, 1491, so now we're jumping ahead another 4 years, we have another person coming forward and claiming to be Richard. And this was a man who eventually was discovered to be named Perkin Warbeck. And he went to Ireland. He went all over, but he went to Ireland, and that's where his story really gained traction. And he got a bunch of support, and he got an army together, and he came back to England to take the throne back. That didn't go so well. His army was routed. He was captured. He recanted his story, and then they executed him.
Yeah, so that seems like Ireland at that time would have been a really easy place to be like, hey, I have some kind of vague claim against some kind of English
thing. A lot of people convinced he had royalty offering their daughters to him for marriage. I mean, this guy was evidently a pretty good con man.
Either that or he was the real deal.
Or he was the real deal.
Yeah.
But the only other theory about what could have happened, and they lived out their life unknown in the country.
That seems unlikely, doesn't it?
It does.
It does a little bit, but actually, when you think about it, you would think that they would have come out of the closet sooner or later. I mean, essentially after the reconciliation between the two sides of the family, I could see where they would stay hidden until then. But what's interesting to me is the two pretenders, pretended to be Richard and not Edward V.
Yes.
Because it could just as easily have been Edward who escaped the tower. And so why people would pretend to be Richard instead of Edward is kind of beyond me.
It seems less dangerous.
Well, no, I actually think it's because he was the younger, and so he therefore is harder to ID in his paintings because he's still a boy. He's still a very young boy. His facial features, I mean, you look at somebody.
He looks like a baby.
Yeah, you take a picture of somebody at 9 and you take a picture of them at 20, and they look similar, but you couldn't say that it was this guy or maybe the guy sitting next to him in a restaurant was actually who that 9-year-old was. So I think that it's because he was so young that it was easier and not as recognized. People didn't see him as much.
Well, yeah, and also, like, if you say, hey, I'm Richard, I'm not the oldest son, I do believe that you may have a better claim than me.
Mm-hmm.
That's much safer than saying, I'm Edward,
Yeah.
and that's my throne.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know.
Very possible. But that, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, is where the story ends. Those are the theories that we've got.
Except for the part where we solved the mystery.
Oh, okay.
It's Joe's mystery solving.
It is. All right, so let's
Yeah.
let's get out your magical mystery book and tell me, Joe, which one of these theories do you back? Which one do you think it is?
Actually, none of them.
Really?
Let's get back to the early part of the story, the ravens,
Yes.
how big they are.
Oh,
They could easily have carried away a couple of small kids.
right.
Yeah.
Except the ravens are always in cages.
Oh, are they? Okay. Oh, well.
Yep.
Nice try, though.
They didn't escape?
No.
Oh, hell.
No.
Let me think. Any other ones? No.
Devin, what do you got? Which one do you?
I like Henry's mom
Yeah.
for it because I think,
Henry the Seventh.
yeah, I don't know why I have this particular fondness in my heart for women of that era doing particularly treacherous things to further their son's goals in life. But I do. That's like one of my favorite things because there's a good documented history of this kind of thing happening where women would have a son and they would say, this guy, he's got a legitimate claim to the throne. I'm gonna do something about it. And I think, so I like her. I like her
Yeah.
killing the boys or them being sick and dying and Richard being like, well, maybe you should just sweep this under the rug.
Yeah, and sympathy to Richard. Probably at that point in time, you got a 12-year-old kid who's now the king, and you're in this time of turmoil, and maybe the kid's sick too. Maybe time for me to pull a few strings and do some manipulative stuff and take over the throne. And like you say, maybe she did have the kids murdered, not only as part of the scheme to bring Henry back, but also to discredit Richard. She's got kind of a twofer there.
Yeah.
That's a good reason to like that one.
I personally, I think the one that I back, which still has its holes, but I think that James Tyrrell might possibly have been telling the truth because he was known to be a pretty, he really followed every order he got from the king at the time.
Which
So-
makes Richard the murderer, essentially.
Well, but we don't know. See, and this is something that I came across in some of my reading, is that it might have been that Richard could have simply said, I wish I didn't have to deal with those brats anymore. I wish they just weren't, they just weren't in the way.
Yeah,
And
Tyrrell
he
thought-
could have, he could have said,
Yeah.
oh, that was a secret wink wink order
Yeah.
to take care of things.
Or he was just like, I like to do anything to make my master happy.
Yes.
This will make my
A
master
lapdog,
happy.
yes.
Yeah.
Or perhaps he just really enjoyed murdering children.
Also possible.
Also
Yeah, you
quite
never know.
possible.
Yeah. So yeah, this is
My thing with this is, again, history is written by the winners.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this one difficult. There may have been a lot of details that were known at the time that didn't get recorded or got recorded and destroyed. So it's
yeah.
hard.
No, I'm sure see, all kinds of people wandering around the tower, and there must have been all kinds of people who saw the kids and had some inkling of what had happened to them. And a lot of people could have said, well, it was about this time that the kids just sort of disappeared, and all those little details, like you say, are just lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless somebody uncovers a manuscript one of these days, it'll probably be some workman.
Yeah. In a
Yeah.
box
They'll
under a
find
set of stairs.
Exactly.
Weird.
Well,
I gotta say too that those bones of those kids, they may or may not be the two princes. But there's a lot of other stairways in the Tower of London, and there's probably all kinds of bones hidden in that place.
there are
Better
bones
start-
all over the ground.
Better start excavating.
Yeah,
The whole
they-
They've done that and accidentally found lots and lots of bones under
Yeah.
lots and lots of places.
Yeah.
Yeah, it may well
so-
be that they have not yet uncovered the two princes, if they're still in the tower.
And the grounds of the Tower of London are chock full of corpses because right outside the Tower of London is where they used to hang and behead everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they'd bring them inside and bury them, and they there's so many stories about corpses being found everywhere in that place.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't want to be there during the zombie apocalypse.
Nope.
That would be
Nope.
bad
Not
news.
interested.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's story. Now, as always, the research links for this particular story will be up on the website. That website is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. If you have any thoughts or comments, you can go ahead and do that right on the website. Or if you want, you can also go ahead and send us an email. Our email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, and we actually have some listener mail.
Sweet!
Yeah.
Listener mail.
I know. We do actually get a good amount of listener mail, but sometimes we get suggestions or things stick out at us, and we just want to read them. So
I really love going out to our email box. It's almost like when you were a kid and you'd run out to the mailbox at your house.
It totally
Every day
is.
I'm like, click on it. Yay!
yeah, and
Well, actually, you don't do it. The intern does that.
Well, and our comments on our website go there too, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
get to check all that stuff out. But this one is from a guy named Tom Williams, and he's from London, which is super awesome. And he says, "Hello, Sideways Thinkers. I have been listening to your podcast for a long time, with one of my favorite episodes being the bloop signal." Ha.
Yeah, that's why you wanted to read this one.
Yeah.
The bloop.
On the subject of the signal, sent back from outer space in 1977. And we have, actually, we were just talking about this. I've been, the listener suggestions we get are always the really big ones.
Yes.
They're always the really giant mysteries that you want to invest a lot of time in. So I have been investing some time in this one, and we will be recording one soon.
I gotta admit, it's funny is when we're looking for stuff, I'm so aware of the WoW.
I
that-
stumbled across it so many times.
That
yeah.
it didn't even come up on radar. It's when I'm doing searches or whatever to try to find topics. I know that one, and that one is so cool that I just automatically go, oh, the WoW signal, keep going. Because and not to say that I don't want to do it. It's just so embedded in my brain.
And for
Yeah.
me, the WoW signal and a couple other ones have been kind of on my radar for a long time, even since the beginning of us just talking about doing the show. But I just have always thought there's so much research, there's so much stuff out there on this.
Oh
that
yeah, it's a big one.
to do it is just going to be a huge undertaking.
Yeah, it's
So-
also the other thing about the WoW signal is not to say that we're not going to do it, because of course we will, and we'll tackle it and we'll solve this damn mystery. But it's one of those things that you see so often, and I try to find the more obscure little mysteries.
You do like those.
I like the weird
I like
little
the big
mysteries.
ones.
Yeah, you like the big ones.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
But
Sweet.
But yeah,
The mail.
good suggestion. Wow, is all I can say. Ha ha ha.
You can listen to the episode right on the website as well, or most likely you're downloading it from iTunes, which is where most people get it.
Yeah.
If you're on iTunes, go ahead and take the time to subscribe and leave us a rating. Those kind of things are really great to know, and they let other people find out about us. If you forget to download a show and you're running around and you realize there's going to be a new one out, you can always listen to us on Stitcher from your mobile phone. You can just stream it right there. Easy as that. And last but certainly not least, go ahead and find us on Facebook. I know we've got a bunch of people who've been tracking us down on Facebook lately, and we're getting a ton of activity lately,
Yeah,
which
we
is
are.
awesome. We're going to have some
Yeah.
really good conversations with folks about some really cool things.
Yeah.
So definitely go ahead and find us on that. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and sign this one off. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
So long, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
August 2007. A severed foot in a running shoe washes up on the
Hey,
shore of a...
wait. Don't you want to go through the whole hi there? This is Thinking Sideways.
No?
No?
Yes.
Okay,
You-
fine. All right, fine.
hurry,
okay.
huh?
Hi, everyone. This is Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I'm Devin, joined as always by...
Steve,
And Joe.
See, that was easy. It was fast.
Yeah.
We didn't really need it, did we?
why are you talking so fast?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Have you had a lot of sugar today?
This story just kind of excites me.
Ah.
And I think I'm excited because Joe always kind of solves mysteries. I think
Oh.
we can actually solve this one.
Oh, cool.
Like
Okay.
truly.
Really?
So I'm just like ready to go.
All right, cool.
All right, let's have it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
What are we doing
Give
here?
us the facts.
We're doing the severed feet of the Salish Sea.
Ah, so the mystery is afoot.
Oh, God.
It is a foot.
All right.
All right. So, ready?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back into it.
All right.
Okay. August 2007. A severed foot in a running shoe washes up on the shore of a beach in Canada. Since then, 12 more feet have been found. The likelihood of finding 2 feet in the situation is estimated at 1 in 1 million. Which
Who
is crazy.
calculated those odds? How exactly do you calculate those
I don't know
odds?
how you calculate those odds. I think it's the wind pattern and the stars and everything aligned.
Ocean patterns.
Ocean pattern.
You probably just go to the there's a webpage, I have no doubt. I've never seen it, but
I
there's
think
no
you
doubt.
go to madeupstatistics.com.
Yeah, you could go to that one. No, I think
Yeah.
there's probably a webpage just devoted to severed feet somewhere on the World Wide Web. You know,
I
you
think
go
I
out there and you
looked at all
download
of
all the
them.
numbers, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 4 of the feet have been identified as belonging to 2 separate people. But the rest of them belong to persons unknown, and the reasons for these severed feet washing up has not been discovered.
So they were actually identifiably associated with named persons.
2 of them, yeah.
Two of these cases.
I'm sorry, 4 of the feet, so 2 of the people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, what were the circumstances under which these people drowned, or
Or are we gonna?
We'll get into
We'll get into that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna go for this one. I think it's probably best to just go foot by foot. There's so many puns in this episode. I'm so sorry.
Oh wow.
We're just gonna go like 1 foot in front of the other.
Yeah, you know, the journey of 1,000 miles and all that.
All right. So
12
the
feet
first
later.
foot was found by a girl who was visiting Canada from the state of Washington on August 20th, 2007. She was walking along the beach and she saw this athletic shoe and it had a sock in it. And she thought, I know, I'll look in that sock.
Ew, gross.
I don't know why she thought that.
She regretted it, didn't she?
She did. She was like, oh, maybe there's some sand in here. Cool. I guess. I don't know what in your brain, like you go, I don't know why.
No, I see. I see a shoe on the beach. I just automatically assume it's a severed limb of some sort in there, and
Well, that's
I
because
don't
you're
go
horrible.
anywhere near it. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
that.
So she opened up the sock and there was a foot in there.
Well, no, there's probably like like an ankle,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
She saw an ankle
and she,
and was like, oh, there's
put 2 and 2 together and assumed there was a
probably
foot in the shoe. Yeah.
Right, and
But-
eventually it was extracted. Okay, whatever.
So they figured out it was a human foot.
They figured out it was a human foot.
I hope so.
Belonging to a man, and the shoe was a 12. About a 12.
Size 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
What
and
was the make of the shoe?
Well, it was a kind of shoe that was produced in 2003 only, and mainly distributed in India.
So it wasn't a major brand.
No.
Okay. I thought that the first one that they found was like a recognizable like Nike or Adidas or something.
That it was Adidas. Yeah, I thought that too, but as I got further into the research, it didn't actually.
Well, there's so many feet that it's hard to keep them straight.
Yeah, so, and that one's a little bit of an anomaly because it says that of an Adidas size 12, but then it goes on to say that it was just a random type of shoe.
Okay.
So I don't totally know, and maybe other people can suss out more information.
Okay.
In my research, is what.
Yeah, I wasn't positive either. That's why
Yeah.
I asked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got this size 12 shoe.
So 1 foot.
Yep.
Okay. The second foot was found on August 26, 2007, which is 6 days later. In the grand scheme of things, that's a pretty close time.
Yeah, that really is.
In 2007, so just 6 days later. This time it was discovered by a couple. It was also the foot of a man. It was waterlogged, and it had signs of being brought to shore by an animal instead of...
Natural currents or tides or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Brought to shore by what kind of animal?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I would guess it was on the beach. Who do you see running around on the beach all the time that picks up shoes? Dogs. Probably a dog.
Maybe a dog or like
Yeah.
a seal or something.
Yeah, it could have been a seal or something.
Yeah.
A dolphin.
Definitely not a
Probably
dolphin.
not a dolphin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Flipper?
So this kind of shoe that they found on this foot had been discontinued in 2004.
Okay.
The third foot was found on February 8th, 2008. It was also a man's foot, also wearing a sneaker and a sock. This kind of shoe was sold in Canada and the U.S. between February 1st and June 30th of 2003.
Okay.
Don't worry, these dates will be coming.
Well, yeah, I'm just, as I'm running here, I'm like, okay, most of these shoes are about 3 or 4 years old.
Mhm.
That's